without further ado, Jane Osler.
Thanks, Nicholas. Good morning. And just a small point of clarification, I actually don't work, I'm not an employee of the CTC. I have my own consulting firm, and the CTC has brought on a few of us they've accredited us basically to work with EQ and be trainers. And you were working with Mary yesterday, so she's one of them, and the two of us have worked a lot on EQ together. So today, I think yesterday was about packaging and building experiences, yes? Today it's around marketing those experiences. So my hope is at the end of today you will walk out with a better understanding of how to apply explorer types in your marketing of experiences. Specifically, you'll learn how to use what kind of promotional messaging, pricing messaging talks to different explorer types, how to bring in some of those social values to that. Media channels and assessing the opportunities, and how to maybe do some assessments around unpaid media, earned media. And then also we'll look a little bit at writing copy and selecting images. And this is interactive. There are some exercises. You had exercises yesterday, I'm sure, and you'll have some today. The three types: authentic experiencer, cultural explorer, and free spirit. Could I just have your hands up for a moment? Okay, that is about 2/3 of the room, it looks like, which is about twice what the population is, generally. No surprise, really, if you think about it. Those three types are travelers. And that brings me to my next question. When you think of a traveler and you think of a tourist, do you guys perceive a difference between travelers and tourists? I mean, we talk about visitors and guests and travelers and tourists. Can you see the difference between them? Here's a quote, and then I'm going to see how many of you maybe thought of it this way. The traveler is active. He goes strenuously in search of people, of adventure, of experience. The tourist is passive. He expects interesting things to happen to him. He goes sightseeing. Can you see how those two things are quite different? Canada's brand, Keep Exploring, is very much geared to explorers, to travelers. I mean, it's right there in the tagline, Keep Exploring. As the National Tourism Marketing Organization, the CTC is going after those markets, those segments that are truly travelers. And they're ranked #1, as we saw, and oh, this goes really quickly. Have to be a little lighter on this. So, ranked #1 for Canada's brand, Future Brand Index, ranked #1, second year in a row. However, when it comes to arrivals in Canada as a destination for international travelers, we were #2 back in the 1950s, hit the #10 spot in 1990, down to the #15th spot in 2009. What that talks to is how much more competitive the tourism sector is now than it was back in the 1950s. I mean, back in the 1950s, if you were really going out to all of these different places, you were quite intrepid. But more and more, these smaller, more out-of-the-way markets are coming up as tourism destinations. And that's moving us down. So how do we move back up? What do we need to do? We need to be really appealing as an industry to the traveler, to the person looking for experiences. And there's the whole path to purchase. I suspect you saw this a little bit yesterday or over the last little while as well. You've got the whole beginning stages here: awareness, dreaming, considering. All of this is the inspiring part. Oh, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? This is the area where DMOs really play, because this is about building brand. So the Canadian Tourism Commission is very much playing in that space. Chinook Tourism, all of these, your DMOs and PMOs, these are the people playing. They have the budgets to play out there in this level. When you move down into planning your itinerary, finalizing your trip, that's where you guys as operators really start to play. And that all comes together right in this point here, creating the movie. So in order for the movie to be created, have you heard that term? Travelers are wanting to create the movie in their head. Is that a term you've heard about? It's really about moving from inspiring to being able to see themselves in a place, doing things there. Okay, so it's the transition from inspiration into making the purchase. In fact, if we look at that same diagram a little bit differently, step 1 through 4 is thinking about a visit, and you're just moving closer and closer as you get to this stage, and then it's about planning the visit. So you can see that we're high levels of awareness of Canada. I mean, 100% awareness amongst long-haul pleasure travelers. 83%, so 4 and 5 are actually dreaming about coming here one day. Moves down to 44% actually considering a trip. And then, but can they really see themselves there? Can they imagine themselves and what they're going to be doing? Drops right down to 1/5 at 20%. We need to be building up in here, especially here, for it to trickle down into making that purchase and actually getting down to planning and purchasing the trip. That movie, as I say, that's the intersection. That's where people start to see what it is they can do. And I'll be showing you a few videos later that'll talk about, you can see something that's quite inspiring and something else that takes inspiration to the next level. Yesterday, you probably did some exercises that really worked on positioning of your experience as well. So now what we want to do is start talking about the promoting of the experience. So social values and pricing. I mean, if you look through those social values, there are a number that could maybe have an impact on how you market and how you promotionally price. So brand apathy, for example. These are people who really, brand isn't important to them. It's not one of their big things. So that's not a free spirit. A free spirit, they like brand. They're looking for brand. They want that. Whereas cultural explorers and authentic experiencers, yeah, they're not big on brand. It's not the key thing for them. I mean, think about it. They're getting into the local, all of those sorts of things. Discount consumerism. Given that free spirits are actually, you know, they've got that need for status recognition. That was one of the values you saw there. Well, they're not going to be going into discount consumerism generally. Cultural explorers, though, you know, they're traveling a lot, they're doing things. They actually score a little bit high on discount consumerism. Discounts, percent off type messages. There are a few of those. So you can go 25% off. Like us on Facebook and get 25% off. So here you're requiring the customer to do something, okay? Get 50% back as resort credits. Again, it's requiring the customer, the consumer, to do something, but this time even more of a commitment because they need to have bought it. So you can see how, you know, commitment starts to play into this. So who would like one of these types of approaches, or would they?
Maybe a rejuvenator.
A rejuvenator for the credit one?
They want to be able to get away as often as they can.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Spend lots of money all the time.
Yep.
I think anybody would actually like a discount.
Well, that's just it. Again, but if it's to be the forefront, so I mean, the Facebook one is an interesting one. Exactly. So the free spirits, those who tend to brag a little bit more, and use social media and let everybody know about it. So, okay, yeah, I like this, and now I'm able to go and actually do something. I got a discount for doing that too, so that's great. It's a little add-on. Again, it's not necessarily the front-facing, but it's an interesting add-on. Time-sensitive. Sometimes price breaks are time-related. So we talked about early season, late season, or do now, the example I used with Whistler, it was a pre-season booking offer and it had very specific dates. It opened on such and such a time and it was over on such and such a time. And if you didn't book it by then, you weren't going to get that offer. So those sorts of things. Who might time-sensitive messages appeal to and why? One of the things to think about here is who is maybe a little more flexible in their time